welcome back to the second hour of Friday Briefing. I'm still charged up. I hope you are too. Of course, we'll be having one extra hour. We've added 1 hour, one full hour to Friday Briefing. And therefore, in this hour, we'll be talking to Willis the Wordmaster. We have enough time for that. But also, I'll be engaging quite a number of other guests here in studio. I'll be introducing them shortly, including Masi Masika. All right, but first things first. At this time, we normally do what we know best at this second hour, on this second hour of Friday Briefing, and that is to learn some correct pronunciations, as Willis Ochieng calls them. All right, let me just bring him in. Willis, it's great to see you this evening. How are you doing? And have you been able to hear just the beautiful music that we've had here in studio?
Betty, I'm fine, thanks. And can you say pronunciation again, as Willis Ochieng always call it, or call them?
Pronunciation, yeah.
You are spot on. Now, Betty, we are doing well. Kisumu is fairly warm, and it's like tonight you are on fire, Betty. You are doing what you always do best.
Thank you.
You know, with that punch, it makes the viewers of KTN News and KTN Home just feel it.
For sure.
Very well.
Thank you.
Keep it up, Betty.
Oh, thank you very well. Thank you very much, Willis Ochieng, Willis the Wordmaster. All right, so Willis, we have quite a lesson tonight, and I want us to begin with the word on the street. That is always a favorite here on the segment. Let's just listen to what Kenyans had to say this time round from the streets.
Conscientiansri. Conscientiansri. Conscientiansri.
Conscientiansri. Conscientiansri. Conscientiansri.
Conscientiansri. Conscientiansri. Conscientiansri. Conscientiansri. Conscientiansri. Conscientious. Conscientious. Conscientiously. Conscientiously.
Conscientiously. Conscientiously.
Conscientiously. Conscientiously.
Conscientiously. Conscientiously. Conscientiously.
Conscientiously. Conscientiously.
Conscientiously. Conscientiously.
Conscientiously. Conscientiously.
Conscientiously. Conscientiously.
Conscientiously. Conscientiously. Conscientiously.
Conscientiously. Conscientiously.
Conscientiously. Conscientiously. Conscientiously.
Conscientiously. Conscientiously. Conscientiously.
So, Willis, that word, I mean, and last week, very many people on Twitter asked us to tackle it because, you know, some of the legislators who are being sworn in literally just destroyed that word, if I can just describe it as that. And I remember, like, before that, like about 2 weeks ago, you actually just told them how we should be pronouncing that word. I'm not sure if I can try it because I don't want to be embarrassed, so I'll just let you handle it. It's a very tricky word, Willis, so how do we go about it?
Betty, if you can remember, I have always told people that nobody can be perfect. And I also say that, you know, there are certain words that you can take to even those who have the best education, you know, they may also find it difficult to pronounce it accurately or correctly. Certain words are called mouthfuls because they're too long. Some are just complex. But this one is a tricky one, Betty. You have to do some exercise. You should also be careful about the movement of your tongue for it to come out well. You say conscientiously, conscientiously. That is to do something carefully and correctly. You know, like when they always, you know, swear as they get into, you know, the positions that they get or into the offices, what really happens is they swear to do, they will always do what they are going in to do carefully and correctly. But what people say and what was said last week, Betty, if you can agree with me, some of them were distant relatives to English or to this word or the word in question. So we say conscientiously. Conscientiously. You may hear somebody somebody may say conscientiously. I've heard somebody saying conscientiously, and several versions.
Yeah.
This is a tricky word, Betty, that those who can pronounce it correctly, they deserve a pat on the back.
Right.
So what have I said? What have I said, Betty? It's conscientiously.
Conscientiously, yeah.
No,
I got it, Willis. So the trick is just to put the
conscientiously.
yeah, conscientiously. I got it,
Yes.
Willis. Hey, thank you
Yes,
for that. I
now
hope
you've
they were
got it.
listening to that. All right, Willis, we want to
Yes.
move on to the next word, and this one I'll spell it out for you. ACADEMIA. Academia or academia, when you're talking about things to do with education, how do we go about that one?
Many people say academia from
Right.
what we see, but that letter E takes the long vowel sound E, the long sound E, demia, not
Oh.
demia. You say academia. When we're talking academia, not academia, Betty. Don't say demia. It's
Okay.
demia. Yes, you say academia. And this is about, when we are talking about, learning,
Yeah.
teaching, or research at universities, and the people who are involved in the same, we have that word referring to them. We say academia.
All right, Willis. So do we also say academics? Because, you have academia.
Academic.
Academic. Okay. So it's academic, but
Betty,
academia.
when you understand what we call inflections in English, that is the changing of the form of words for grammatical function. When you also go to the pronunciation, I've always told you that we have certain changes, what we call partial changes. Like we say pastor, but we don't say pastoral. You say pastoral. You get that?
Yeah.
You say, yes, minister, but you don't say ministerial. You say ministerial.
Not
post.
ministerial?
So there are certain ministerial, you can take that to a dustbin. If I may, apologize for using that
Wow.
word, Betty.
Willis, tonight
you can
you're on
take
fire.
that to the dustbin.
Okay.
You say ministerial, not
Ministerial.
ministerial as commonly said locally. Yeah, ministerial, but we have minister. Are we together?
Yes, got it, Willis. So it's ministerial and not
Okay.
ministerial, like most people
Ministerial,
say.
no.
Okay.
Betty,
Moving on.
just like we find ourselves saying monetary. Monetary, no. Very common but inaccurate. We have money, and you say monetary. International Monetary Fund.
Okay.
Monetary Fund. But many
Monetary.
people are used to
Monetary.
monetary.
All right. So it's
Which is
monetary.
inaccurate.
Monetary, ministerial,
Fund, yes.
and academia. Well, Willis. All right,
Academia.
let's continue with this next word, Willis. And I'll spell it out too, because I'm not also sure about the pronunciation. Quandary. Quandary, is that correct?
Oh, that is a word for dilemma. To be in a quandary. Quandary. That is to
quandary.
be in dilemma. To be in a quandary. So you say quo, just like you would say quarter, but you say quandary. Quandary, not quandary.
All
Some
right.
people find themselves talking or pronouncing it as quandary, which is wrong. You say quandary.
Quandary.
To be in a quandary, to be in dilemma.
All right, Willis, got it. Moving on to this other word, I'll still spell it out, SUPPOSEDLY, supposedly, how do we go about that?
Supposedly.
All right, so supposedly.
Betty, the tricky thing about this word, that is the adverb. That adverb is supposedly. Supposedly. But you may have heard some people talking of supposed,
Yeah.
which is not there. When you talk of the adjective, you say supposed, alleged,
Yes.
supposed, or
Supposed.
imagined, not supposed. Supposed, I've even heard that in certain, sessions or court sessions, which is, a bit tricky. We say supposed, but the adverb is supposedly.
All right, supposedly. All right, got it,
Yes.
Willis. Moving on to this other word, and I know this word as constitution, and but you wanted to highlight it tonight. What varied pronunciations have you heard so far about this one, Willis?
Betty, during the recent court session, the legal battle in court in this country, I had a lot of constitution, and I was wondering, which is this word? Constitution, repeatedly.
Right.
Constitution. Constitution, no. We don't have constitution. What we have is constitution. Constitution, the way you said it, Betty.
Right.
Constitution, not constitution. Constitution, no. Constitution, yes.
So that word, Willis, reminds me of the other word that you taught us about 2 weeks ago, and it was to do with the Supreme Court. And I remember you say that we do not say supreme, but interestingly, you say that you can say supreme or supreme. That's also something that I saw later on.
Alternative pronunciations.
Yeah, Willis, that was really...
Yes, you say supreme and supreme. We also have issue and issue. You also have finance and finance. Those are alternative pronunciations of such words.
All right, interesting. Thank you for that. Moving forward, Willis, this other word, I'll also spell it out. Legalese. Legalese. It's a word that we've had, political pundits talking about. How do we go about
Betty,
that?
You are talking about that word. It's referring to the sort of language that is commonly used in in legal documents.
Right.
The language in legal documents that many people find, difficult to understand.
Yes.
You say legalese, legalese, not legalese, not legales. You say legalese. So when you look at the legal documents, sometimes you may not understand it, but some piece of advice, Betty. Much as lawyers and legal practitioners, may understand sometimes when they have such kind of language.
Right.
Just like when journalists have what we call journalese.
Journalese.
But in most cases, I do tell people that, like when it comes to arguments on matters like court issues, you have to get some substance, not only the language. The language may be very flowery. The language may be very powerful or very punchy, but may be hollow to some extent. That is why I always say, when you use language, strive to communicate and strive to get points home, especially on substantive issues. It really helps. Simplicity is the building block of any language and any communication, Betty. But the word legalese. Legalese.
All right. Got it, legalese. All right, finally from my end, Willis, we have this word. Do we say depreciate, depreciate? How do we go about that?
What we avoid is de. Don't say depreciate or depreciate. That is wrong. You say depreciate, depreciate, appreciate, depreciate.
All right.
Yes, depreciate.
Depreciate.
That is the best way. And Betty, before we can, leave it at that from your end. There is a word, I don't know whether you heard people also in, legal arguments, people talking of premise, premise, and all that. You must have heard that.
Yes,
but
I
since
did.
we are just learning, nobody can be perfect, but we are just learning. In this case, we should remember that you say premise.
Premise.
Based on the premise. Premised on something or on an argument or on a case. Premised, not premised, not premised. And the word premise is premise. Don't say premise, don't say premise. It's like saying promise when you're talking of promise.
All right.
Betty, do we say promise?
No,
he promised?
Of course not.
You say he promised.
All right.
So if you say promised, that is wrong.
All right.
You say premise, wrong. So we go now straight, Betty, I think, to the feedback questions. And can I take it up?
Yes, sure.
Okay. Betty, Lawrence Mwanzia of Makueni. Lawrence is asking about representative. You have somebody representing you, to represent, not represent. Represent, just avoid that. Say represent. Then representative, not representative.
All right.
Aisha Mahmoud of Kongowea, Mombasa, you say gynecologist. Gynecologist. Simon Onyango of Migori, you say hypocrite. Hypocrite. Many people say hypocrite. But hypocrite, no. You should say hypocrite, just like we say favorite. Favorite or favorite.
All right.
But many people find themselves saying favorite. Then we also have Daniel Ireri, you say gibberish. Gibberish. Don't say gibberish. Then Amina Nyawara, you say gigantic. Not gigantic. Gigantic. I think this word we have focused on it, Betty,
many
earlier
times,
when people
yeah.
send it so much. Yeah, gigantic. Then Bernard Karaoke, you say launch, not lounge. Launch. Launching pad, not launching pad. Mary Kadenge, heinous. A heinous offense. And you also say bank heist. Don't say bank haste. Haste is H-A-S-T-E. Hurry. Haste. H-A-S-T-E. But when we talk of H-E-I-S-T, robbery, you say heist. Bank heist. But we have heinous crime. Heinous
Not
offense.
heinous, Willis?
H-E-I-N-O. You don't say heinous.
All right.
There's nothing like heinous, Betty, in English, to be sincere with you. We don't have heinous.
All right.
What we have is heinous.
Heinous.
H-E-I-N-O-U-S. Just like some people say mischievous.
Yes,
I don't know where we get that. Mischievous, no. You say mischievous. V-O-U-S. Mischievous.
All right.
And also grievous, not grievous harm. Grievous harm. But nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
Regina Nyaboke, if you like Regina Nyaboke, you say
Regina.
deluge.
All right.
Daisy, yes. Daisy Rope, George Lukoe, and Soldier Charles Omweri, you say lighting. Kenya Power and lighting. Some people find themselves saying lightning. It's lighting. Francis
Lighting.
Mugo, you say subtle, subtle. Ann Gatti is an ardent follower of Friday Briefing, Betty, to be open to you, because I saw what she wrote and said, KTN makes her feel like she's just up the skies. Ann Gatti of Kehancha Kuria, thank you so much for loving Friday Briefing that much and good pronunciations. But you say petition. Don't say petition. Petition, no. You know why I'm talking like that, Betty? Petition, no. Opposition, no. You say opposition, petition, and all that. And then don't say opposition. Opposition is also in some parts of the country. But nobody likes to be affected by first language or mother tongue influence.
Yeah.
Finally, Dr. Nicholas Bor. Oh, this one is also praising us, Betty. So Nicholas Bor, Daktari, we also say thank you so much for loving Friday Briefing. So we go straight to our surprise word for tonight, Betty.
Okay.
We have the word clean. Clean, to clean something. Something that is clean. Clean. But Betty, when we have cleanliness, many people find themselves saying cleanliness. And I know this one is a big surprise to many people tonight. Maybe including Betty.
Definitely including
Betty,
so
you
what
don't
do you
say,
You say cleanliness?
cleanliness. Cleanliness. You say clean. Clean, not clean. Cleanliness. But don't say this thing is clean. This is clean. But when we have this abstract noun, Betty, you say cleanliness. Very tricky.
But
you should go and do some research.
Change?
Betty, I thought I have always talked to you about what we call inflection of words.
Right.
And in reference to the partial change of pronunciations and the irregularity of spelling and pronunciation in English language, which is a bit chaotic. But here, I knew you would be shocked beyond shock, not even surprised.
Cleanliness.
I believe you
All
are
right.
shocked.
Okay.
We have clean, but don't say cleanliness. You say cleanliness.
Cleanliness.
We have zeal, but we say zealot. Betty, do you say zealot?
Zealot?
You say zealot. Zeal, zealot.
Zealot.
Zealotry. Overzealous, not overzealous. So that is why I always say, for those who are in careers of serious communication, Betty, thorough research on the language, because language is the tool of trade.
Right.
Research helps a lot, but we can't be perfect.
Okay.
We try our best. So cleanliness, I know you'll get so much in terms of feedback. Is it cleanliness? Is Willis serious?
All
Is
right.
he kidding? But
Cleanliness
research
it is.
will help many people. Cleanliness.
All
If you
right.
get cleanliness, I hope you understand phonetic transcription. If you get cleanliness, then I'll give you some reward, Betty. It's
Actually, I
cleanliness.
believe you, Willis.
Then
yeah.
we have confusing words.
Yeah.
And Betty, by the way, we say cleansing, cleansing or cleansing. Don't say cleansing. Cleansing, cleansing, no.
All right.
Cleansing.
All right.
But
Okay.
we have the confusing words, Betty. How many times do you hear people talking of two liars?
Yeah.
Liars with so and so.
Yes, yes.
Liars or liars with so and so, which is inaccurate. Betty, that word, that verb is liaise. Liaise, not liars. To liaise with somebody. Liaison, not liaison.
All right.
Liaise. But I've brought the word which is below so that we can know what should be pronounced as liars. The plural of liar is liars.
Liars.
They are liars.
Okay.
But the word above,
Liaise.
L-I-A-I-S-E is liaise.
Liaise.
A bit tricky, but
Very
Betty,
tricky.
I have today to help people to understand phonetic transcriptions, also for them to understand what I'm talking about. For those who know, phonetic transcription is where you are writing a word in terms of the sound, how you use the sound symbols to write the pronunciation of a word. That is
All right.
phonetic transcription. Betty, in this case, you'll realize for those people who understand the transcriptions, you don't say liars. You say liaise.
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 All right.
In good dictionaries, you'll always find those ones just in front of the head words. But if you're talking about liars, you can also see the transcription, which is a guide to the pronunciation of that word, which I've put below. That is the phonetic transcription. But Betty, not everybody understands the transcriptions. That's a very tricky part.
All right.
But if we have to go academic, sometimes we have to really do our best. Otherwise, anything else from your side, Betty?
Willis, thank you for that. I feel like it was like a double lesson. It's like a double pronunciation
Cleanliness,
lesson
not cleanliness.
Very interesting. I mean, cleanliness, that's a surprise and a shocker for me and very many people. But thank you for that. Willis, the word master there, joining us from Kisumu County. Remember that if you have more questions for him, you can tweet him at Willis Acheng1, or you can just choose to wait for Friday briefing every Friday at 9 p.m. to 11 p.m., where he's going to, of course, to be handling those and tackling those questions that you've put out for him. Willis, the word master there on Mind Your Language segment, so one of a favorite here on Friday briefing. All right, so like I mentioned, we have quite a number of conversations. I can see